And you're about to see our friend Richard Viguerie, who is Skyping in from Washington. Richard, we welcome you back to America's Forum.
Always good to be with you, JD.
So you've warned us about Harry Reid's plan. Is it going to hold up, or have Republicans got a clue now about nationalizing the campaign?
Well, the Republican leaders, in my opinion, are clueless. I feel, JD, like conservatives, limited government constitutional conservatives, are like the biblical Jews who had to wander through the desert for 40 years until that generation of failed, flawed leaders had passed from the scene. And conservatives are not going to get to the political promised land until we get new leaders. These leaders are just clueless. There was an article you referenced, Political. There was an article a few days earlier than the Reid article talking about how the Republicans have made a conscious decision to play prevent defense. And when my football team, the Redskins, play prevent defense to try to protect the lead in the closing minutes of the game, they invariably lose, running out the clock. We know how terrible strategy that is, and that's the Republicans. They're clueless. They have no ideas. They're running basically, for the most part, content-free campaigns. And JD and Morgan, Republicans literally never win an election that's not nationalized. Now, if an election is nationalized, say as 1964 when Goldwater lost, we lost then, and we don't always lose nationalized elections, but we never win unless they are nationalized. You know, Tip O'Neill famously said all elections are local. Democrats love that strategy. That's what they are. They are a deliverer of services. You need a pothole fix. You need your Social Security check to arrive on time. You need this government program, that government program. That's what Democrats do. So they win when elections are localized.
Now, Richard, you just said that Republicans have never been able to win by focusing on local issues. How can they transition to nationalize this? What must be done?
Well, you must give the voters a tune they can whistle. And they can't remember 6, 8, 10 things. There are 3 issues I think out right now that would nationalize this election and cause the Republicans to have a big victory. The type of victory that JD knows very well from 1994, the contract with America, it nationalized the election. So if they focused on 3 issues, Morgan, in this election, and that's amnesty, national security, and the culture of corruption and lies and abuse of power that has rifled throughout the Obama administration. And by the way, national security is particularly effective with women. We know how the Democrats have been effective with their false pseudo war on women campaign against Republicans. The Republicans stress national security. That moves the dial with women voters.
Hey, Richard, I'm all with you on the whole deal with amnesty, because we both know how dangerous that is. And I understand the national security argument, but I did not hear you mention Obamacare. It would seem to me that Obamacare would be a big loser for the left and with a lot of the women you just referenced.
Well, the nice thing about what I said about the culture of corruption and lies and abuse of power, all the things that you and I are upset about the Democrats fit into that. Obamacare fits into the lies. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. You know, your taxes will not go up for Obamacare. Your insurance policy will be cheaper. All that fits into the culture of lies, corruption, Benghazi, the IRS destroying evidence, abuse of power with amnesty, open borders. We know what they plan in right after the election in terms of legalizing 5 to 10 million illegals here. So almost everything that we are unhappy with and the American people are unhappy with fits into that culture of corruption, lies, abuse of power.
Now, Richard, are undecided voters ready to admit that President Obama's policies aren't working?
I think the independents, the undecided voters, absolutely. I think that the Democrats apparently, Morgan, have made a conscious decision. They're going to ignore those voters, and they're going to focus on turning out their base. They've got a hardcore base out there that they feel that if in this midterm election, if they can turn out their base, they can protect a lot of their incumbents and win a lot of races just by turning out their base. And the Republicans' base, because of the disconnect between Republican leaders and the grassroots. The Republicans are not as excited about this election. They're not as engaged. And that's why you need to nationalize the elections. And the point about nationalizing the election, let's admit and acknowledge that the Republicans are not going to nationalize the election. If the elections are to be nationalized, JD and Morgan, it's going to come down to the conservatives. We are the leaders we've been waiting for. We can no longer wait for John Boehner and Mitch McConnell and Karl Rove to lead. It is up to us conservatives to provide that leadership. In the last 40 days of this election, we can do that. We can provide that leadership. Like, people like yourself, access to microphones. Conservatives can blog, email, talk to their friends, people at church, work, neighbors, and we can nationalize the election.
Well, Richard, we appreciate your insights on this and your word to the wise, really a warning, because all the conventional wisdom is that the momentum is with Republicans, and we do appreciate now as you offer some quantification on what we've been hearing, that you better not start counting those Senate seats changing hands until it actually happens. Richard Viguerie, I have long admired you from that first piece of direct mail I got as a new voter way back when, to the chance to work with you in Washington, D.C. as both a candidate and as a member of Congress. We sure appreciate your time, and we'd like to remind those watching that you have authored a book we've talked about before here on America's Forum. The name of that book is Takeover, the 100-Year War for the Soul of the GOP and How Conservatives Can Finally Win It. So, you heard what Richard had to say about the midterms, a word of warning about Republicans counting Senate seats before those elections take place. Do you agree with what Dick had to say? Why don't you tweet us your comments at NewsmaxTV, #America's Forum. And we're coming right back.